and happy Vlogmas week 3. Today I'm coming to you from my library slash study, and this is one of my favorite rooms in the house. But unfortunately over the past year it became one of my least favorite because it kind of became a dumping ground for clutter. I think it was just part and parcel of me not reading very much. I didn't come in here very often to pick out a book or to sit in my chair and read, so it was easy to just kind of put everything that I couldn't figure out what to deal with in here, sort of out of sight, out of mind. And I would just kind of look away as I walked past the room because I knew I needed to deal with it. So yeah, yesterday I did finally address this room, and I'll show you the before and after video in a few minutes. I tried to film me cleaning up, but the footage didn't turn out very well, so I'm just going to do before and afters. I hear a cat scratching the furniture back there, so it's a typical day. This morning I'm having some cinnamon, the Harney cinnamon, I think it's called hot cinnamon tea. That's one of my favorites, especially at this time of year. It's a nice cold morning. So I'll just have a sip of tea. And then I thought, before I show you the before and after of my study and library, that I would just kind of give you an update on how my reading's going this week. So the past week was a pretty good reading week. I finished 2 books. I actually read completely 2 books, which is extremely rare for me this year, so that is definitely good. And then I started another one. So the first book that I read last week was Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. So this is a small novella. I really had no idea what it was about other than that it was set in Ireland in the 80s. And I think what I can say about it is that I appreciated it. Their writing is good, although maybe not as over the top great as, you know, all the prizes and words that I've heard about it would say. That's just my opinion. I thought it was good. And the message of the story was good, I thought. But it just wasn't quite what I was in the mood for, I think. So it turns out it's the story of a coal delivery man in Ireland in the 80s. He's married and he has, I think, 4 or 5 daughters. He himself was an illegitimate child who, fortunately, his mother had a very kind employer who, when she became pregnant outside of marriage, allowed her to keep working there and was very kind to her and to the little boy. But then as the story unfolds, we come to find out that that is definitely not the case for a lot of other young women who had been in similar circumstances. So it's basically the story of the Magdalen laundries in Ireland, or it's related to that. I had never heard of this before, which is pretty awful because it seems like it should be a huge story, and maybe it is, and I just didn't know. But apparently it's basically the Catholic Church from, I think it was like the 1800s up until really fairly recently, like in the 1990s or something, would have unmarried women. It would like take their children away from them, and then they became basically slave labor and overseen by nuns and stuff. So it was very bizarre. I had to look it up afterwards to be like, did this really happen? It just seems so surreal. So anyway, it was sort of to do with that. So interesting. I'm glad I know about this now. I'm glad I read this book, but it was kind of felt grim to me, even though I think the moral center of this book is great, but it was not what I was in the mood to read during the Christmas season, really. Or at least it's not what I expected it to be, so I was a little bit meh about it. But at least it's short, and I finished it, and I really don't feel the need to read it again, but I'm glad I can check it off my list. So anyway, that's this one. The next book that I read last week is so random. It has nothing to do with the season. It has nothing to do with Christmas for sure. What happened was, this is peak mood reader behavior. So I was on YouTube, and for some reason the algorithm brought up a clip of the movie Interview with the Vampire, which I've never seen before. But I clicked on the link and watched it, and I was like, huh, this is interesting. So rather than say, oh, that makes me want to watch the movie, it made me say I want to read the book. There's Wally. Hello, Wally. So I got a copy of the book and I read it last week in just a few days. It was really interesting, really engaging. So it's a story, it starts in the 1790s, and it's the story of a wealthy young man who lives on a plantation in Louisiana in New Orleans. He's of French origin, and he goes through sort of tragic events and is sort of falls prey to another vampire called Lestat, who turns him into a vampire. So the story is his life as a vampire, all of the drama that unfolds over literally hundreds of years as he lives his life as a vampire. And he's an interesting character, Louis, because he still, through much of the story, maintains glimmers of his humanity, and he struggles with what he does more so than the other vampires do. And it's sort of the story of that, his sort of existential crisis as a vampire. Like, what's the meaning of my life? Why am I doing this? He craves it, of course, but he doesn't approve really of what he does. And then at a certain point, they bring another vampire into their little trio, a little girl that ends up being a vampire for hundreds of years, of course, trapped in a little girl's body, which is another messed up, tragic story in and of itself that is explored. So yeah, it was very interesting. It's not at all the kind of thing I normally would read at all. But I'm glad I read it. I thought it was fascinating. It kept me turning the pages. I'm not sure I would want to read it again or continue on with the series. I don't feel the urge to do that. But I'm glad I read it. Maybe it would have been something good to read around Halloween instead of around Christmas. But you know, when you're a mood reader, you just seize the moment and read what you're in the mood for right then. And I'm glad I read this one. So I would recommend this. I think I gave it 4 stars. Have another sip. So those were the 2 books I read last week. And then yesterday I started reading Winter Solstice by Rosamund Pilcher. I'm only a few pages in at this point, but I've read this multiple times. I'm buddy reading it with my friend Elizabeth. Wally, please don't shake the camera. So I already know I'm going to love this one, so I'm excited to read it. It's such a chunker, it'll probably take up my whole week, and that's great because it's the kind of book that is just so good to immerse yourself in, and it definitely puts me in those cozy, wintry, Christmassy, warm vibes, and that's what I'm really in the mood for right now. So between this and finally starting to watch some Christmas movies, which I really haven't done yet, I should be getting hopefully into the Christmas spirit. So yeah, it's hard to believe, but this is my last full week of work for the year. Next week I work 2 days and then I'm off for the rest of the year. Hi, Wally. I'm filming this in the morning and they always are extra crazy in the morning. Anyway, so yeah, I work this week, but we have a few different holiday parties and lunches. Today I have a lunch with some recruiters that we work with, and then I think it's Wednesday we have a thing at my work location where we're doing appetizers and dessert. So I'm planning to make an appetizer I've never had before, but just I saw it somewhere and it sounded really good. And it's spinach stuffing balls. So it's basically like you take frozen chopped spinach and heat it up until you know you can work with it, and then you squeeze out all the liquid and mix that in with stuffing mix. I plan to use cornbread stuffing mix, different seasonings, onions, and then like an egg to bind it, and you make little balls and bake them. And I was like, that sounds good. How can those things be bad? I mean, everything in them sounds really good. So that's what I plan to make for that. And then Thursday we have our department lunch, which is going to be really fun. We do a Secret Santa. So even though it's a work week, it should be a fun one. And then next week, yeah, just a couple of days and then off for quite a while. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, so I think I'll show you my library and study now certainly is not perfect. I still have things, you know, some pictures kind of piled up, you'll see, against the bookshelf that I need to figure out what to do with. I want to hang them up around the house and just haven't gotten to it yet. And then I just have too many books. At some point I probably need to do an unhaul. Maybe I should do what I've seen Jen on Jen's Reading Life do and pick out some books that I've had on my shelf for a really long time and read a chapter or two and decide, do I want to keep it or do I want to unhaul it? That might be a fun video to do. So I'll have to think about that. But it looks a lot better than it did. And especially the desk, I can actually get to the desk now, which is good. So starting in January, I'm excited because I'm going to be working from home officially 2 days a week. And so that's one of the big motivations of tackling this room when I did, because I know that I'm going to need some place I can sit and work and have a more professional setting, especially for doing conference calls with the camera on and things like that. So yeah, I'm excited about that. But anyway, so I will end this video with the kind of before and after. And then I will see you next time for another Vlogmas video. I hope you're all having a great holiday season and getting a lot of good reading done and movie watching and tea drinking and baking and all the things you may love to do at this time of year. So I will see you again soon. Bye.